Welcome all to our 6th Beyond Science episode. Tonight is a very special episode for me because we have with us esteemed guests from Medical Volunteers International, a humanitarian NGO very close to my heart with whom I worked during 2021. We have tonight, everyone welcome, Ron and Saeed.
Hey, Christos.
So,
How's it going?
Very nice to see you. Very nice to see you guys after all this time.
It was very nice.
Tell us, Ron, what exactly is your position within MVI at the moment? Why do we have you here?
So,
why are you of value?
Why I'm of value, I'm not really sure, but at the minute I'm working as the medical coordinator for MVI. So MVI is Medical Volunteers International. We're like an NGO doing primary healthcare for refugees, undocumented people, people on the move in Athens specifically. And so as medical coordinator, I'm in charge of making sure the clinics are running properly, shepherding the volunteers, and just keeping an overall eye on, particularly if we have any complex patients, that sort of thing. Also liaising with other NGOs and having a bit of an idea of the broader context of everything.
Excellent. And Saeed, what do you do with MVI?
I work as a translator with MVI just like 1.5 years ago, and also lately I work like as a cultural mediator kind of. So I make sure the volunteers ask this like the right question from the right people, like cultural, to not be wrong from the people.
Yeah, because we have the volunteers. What countries do they tend to be from?
So they tend to be European. It's from all over. So we have we're a German NGO, so we got a lot of German doctors in particular. Mm-hmm. But then we also get people from the Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, England, France. We've had some people from Australia, from America, so really from everywhere.
Very impressive.
Really international.
And international, exactly. And Saeed, where are our patients usually from?
Mostly African people and also people from Afghanistan and Farsi speakers. So that's why I work more for MVI. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we have people from Bangladesh, Urdu speaker, Pakistani people, but mostly Farsi speakers and French speakers from Africa.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to clarify for our audience, which is perhaps not aware, that you speak Farsi.
Yeah,
right?
I do speak
Where
Farsi.
Where is Farsi spoken?
So we have Farsi and Dari, so they are like the same language, but like different dialect and accent. So mostly Dari is spoken in Afghanistan and Farsi in Iran. It's just they can understand each other, but it's like different accent.
So Afghanistan, Iran, and Tajikistan.
Tajikistan also, yeah.
Excellent. Now you said, Ron, that MVI is right now operating in Athens.
Yeah.
But it's a German NGO. So how does MVI pick where it's going to go next, where it's going to help?
So MVI started in Athens. It was our second or third project that we opened in Greece. So we started in Lesbos, and then we also opened in Thessaloniki, and now in Athens. And it very much depends on where we feel there is a need. If there is already someone there doing primary care, we're not going to get involved. We're going to leave it to whoever's there. But if we feel that if there's a need that's not being met, if there's something that we can help with, then we're going to go help.
Excellent. Now, Saeed, I want you to tell me your coolest story as an interpreter, working as an interpreter for MVI.
Coolest story. Actually, I haven't before working with MVI as a translator, medical translator. I hadn't heard about like depression, like postpartum depression, some stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But it sounded like something new to me. I saw a patient had a postpartum depression, and it was something kind of new. Mm-hmm. And it was I think in that time I learned something. Mm-hmm. So that was cool, I guess.
Okay, so that postpartum depression was a new concept that you saw in action.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember as well from my time with MVI, we had a lot of psychiatric cases, either from PTSD, from torture, or they just had it, but they had never gotten the care they needed. And again, as an interpreter, what has been the most difficult thing for you, either practically or emotionally?
At the beginning of working with MVI, so I was struggling with medical stuff because I'm not a medical person and I'm not a medical student, so I didn't know that much of medical stuff. But after a while, I was getting used to it, and I think that was the difficult part.
Okay, getting used to the medical terminology.
Exactly.
Now, Ron,
Yeah.
tell us your coolest story with MVI. Sorry, we omitted that. Ron, what do you do as a profession?
So I'm a junior doctor. I've been working for about 4 years now in the UK, mostly in internal medicine, but also in surgery and anaesthetics and emergency medicine. So yeah, that's like my background, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and now your coolest story with MVI.
That you see a lot of quite interesting medical stuff with MVI, because we see a lot of things which in the West you wouldn't see. You see a lot of advanced disease. Mm-hmm. So I saw a guy who came in with a cough, right?
Yeah.
And then it turns out that he's had this cough for a year, he's been losing weight, he has night sweats, so immediately you start thinking TB. So we go to examine him and he has this huge cold abscess on the chest, like maybe about this big. Wow. And it's just full of like green fluid, which I'd never seen a cold abscess before. Mm-hmm. And then talking to him more, he's got, for the last 2 weeks, he's been having lower back pain, he's got leg weakness, he's got incontinence. So again, you're like, this is not something which I would expect to see in the UK, in Greece, wherever, just because this stuff, it doesn't get this bad.
Yeah, it doesn't get this far along.
Exactly, where a lot of these people haven't had access to healthcare for some time now. Mm-hmm. We're sometimes the first healthcare that they get in the West, so which is a big like responsibility for us. So it's interesting to see advanced disease which you wouldn't normally get to see.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've touched on that MVI offers primary healthcare to people that cannot easily go to the Greek public healthcare system, but all the volunteers are non-Greek essentially. You had me, then I left for summer, and then you were left with no Greek volunteers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Right before that, you had my friend Dorothea, but that's it. So, how does one make the decision to come to a country where they don't speak the language and no one in the group speaks the language and work there and offer healthcare?
It is sometimes tricky, but we've had. Basically, I think the reasoning was that we have a need that's not being met, and the patients don't speak Greek. So actually not speaking Greek in the context of our clinics is not really a problem. We don't. Mm-hmm. We get we're getting a few more Greek people coming in as well, but that's a bit of a newer thing for us.
Okay, perfect.
But so we've managed to cope, because largely we have, like Saeed said, we have Farsi speakers, we have French speakers, and we have a lot of Arabic speakers as well, coming from like Syria and Iraq and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's not really been a problem. The problem has been when we're then trying to interact with the Greek health system, which actually has sometimes been an issue, but we always find a way around it. Either there's someone who speaks reasonable English, or we get help from you and from Dorothea, so we find a way.
Okay, so have you ever, as MVI, had any difficulties with the law?
There have been instances. So one of the things that we do is we do a street outreach program with another NGO, where we go around parts of Athens where there's a lot of homelessness, drug abuse, sex workers. So we go out on the street and we do medical care for them a few days a week. So a lot of wound care is the biggest thing, but also just like checking up on people, seeing how they're doing.
Okay, so right there on the street, right?
They're on the street, yeah.
Excellent.
Which is really cool, because it's not something that you're used to, and actually sometimes, dressing a wound on the side of the road, and someone's smoking a cigarette and they drop ash into the wound.
Okay.
I've had a scenario where I was dressing this leg wound, I just put some silver on it, and a bird shits in the wound. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not prepared for this, like I need to wash it. Wow. Like, this isn't in the textbook. So I'm washing it, redo it, and then then a bird shits on my head, and I'm like, oh, it's okay. It's not the wound. I can keep going.
It was probably blinded.
Exactly. For people who are listening to this and not watching it, I'm bald.
Very good context, Ron. Thank you very much. So,
but on the street, we have had run into the law. Yeah. So there's been some times when the police will come along and they try and kick the people out of the street in that area, and sometimes they'll take issue with us doing healthcare for these people. Which we're not doing anything wrong, we're not doing anything illegal, we're perfectly entitled to be there, and we just sort of tell them that in a bit of a forceful way.
Okay, and does it work?
Not when we do it, but we work with a Greek NGO, and when they do it, it works.
Really? When they say it in Greek, it works?
When they say it in Greek, it works.
Damn, okay, that's some terrible behavior on the part of these policemen, but I'm glad that you get it working somehow.
Exactly.
It's very important work.
Yeah, it is, because a lot of these people, they have no other options. So it's nice that we can provide that service.
Really, many times nobody cares. So, back on Saeed.
Yeah.
Tell me, remind me, how long have you been in Greece?
2.5 years now.
Okay. So, what surprised you about Greece when you came here from Afghanistan?
Okay, mostly the people.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's like the Greek culture is between Asian culture and kind of, I guess, like European culture.
You guess
So
like
they
European, not really
close
European
to us,
culture.
you know, like
Okay.
you know, it's close to our culture. Like our culture is somehow like not the same, but it's kind of similar, you know.
Okay.
And that's a thing that I really like from Greece, and like, yeah, the people are really nice, and the culture is almost, yeah. There's a
Okay.
bit.
Okay, I love to hear that about those
Yeah.
similarities. Very nice. But about the Greek healthcare system now.
Yeah.
You've had some contact with that, I suppose. What is your opinion on it?
Once as I experienced it personally in the hospital when I was hospitalized for about like 2 weeks. So I think I did have the insurance number, but the temporary one, as you explained, the PIPA number. So yeah, it worked really well. I was hospitalized for like the leg pain, because of leg pain, and then they have done the examination, all the examinations that I was needed to do, and it was good, I think. Yeah,
Okay, so your experience was
it was good.
good with the Greek
Yeah.
healthcare system. How do you think it compares with the Afghan and Irani healthcare system?
I would say it's better.
Uh-huh. Okay, that's good to hear. Ron, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, just to jump in, I think obviously Saeed speaks really good English, right? And
Yeah.
I think that contributed to him having such a good experience with the system. We do hear of some people who struggle to manage with the system, struggle to get into the system. And it's largely a communication issue. They don't speak English, they don't speak Greek.
Exactly.
So they struggle to be understood sometimes. There are, there's NGOs which offer translation services, but sometimes patients will come to us saying, we tried to use an on-the-phone translator and they weren't happy with that. So actually a lot of what we do is just trying to get people into the system. We want to work with the system. We don't want to fight against it in any way.
Exactly.
So getting people into the system and trying to explain to them what the system is as well. So a lot of it is explaining to the patients, like, look, if you are going to go for an appointment, you have to be there on time. You have to have your translator prepared. You have to be ready to deal with it effectively.
Yeah, the communication, as Ron said, is really important. When you go to see a doctor, you need to do the consultation, right? Right? And then, I think the communication is the key. So some of the people, like most of the people, the refugees, they don't speak the language. And as I've been sent by MVI to accompany some patients in the appointment in the hospitals. So I don't say all of the Greek doctors are like that, but some of them, they could have spoken English, but they said we don't accept the English translator. So it has to be a Greek translator, someone who speaks Greek and does it in Greek and Farsi.
Okay. Yeah, that's a terrible issue, both structurally with the hospitals. They don't have a translation service. They rely on NGOs. They rely on people that know the patients. They rely on other patients from the ER to come and translate.
Yeah.
Does anyone speak Dari? Does anyone speak Urdu? Yeah, that's really terrible. And the attitude, as Saeed said, that no, I can't translate from English. I understand that it's not exactly your job, but you have to meet some people in need halfway there, right? So, on a lighter note, what's the hardest thing, Ron, about this volunteer work?
One of the best things about it is the people, but also one of the worst things is the people.
As with everything.
So we have a lot of volunteers coming through. We have a high turnover of people. So some people come for 2 weeks, some people come for 3 months, and almost every week someone will leave and someone will arrive. So it's great meeting all these new people, but occasionally it gets a bit tiring having the same conversations again and again. Where are you from? Why have you come to MVI? Is it your first time in Athens?
How did you meet MVI?
Yeah, exactly. But it is nice, but it's also sometimes tiring.
Yeah, it's a nice social experience, but also I suppose explaining all the intricacies of the Greek law, Greek healthcare, how does the organization work, what limitations do you have,
exactly,
all of that.
One of my roles is doing the inductions for new volunteers. So I have the same 1 hour presentation which I give every week. Which at this point I could probably if you tied me up and threatened me, I would be able to give the presentation. It's all fine.
Word for word.
Exactly.
Yeah, all this skill, managing people, managing projects, very important, and I'm glad you've conquered it.
I don't know if I've conquered it.
Through MVI.
We're trying.
Now, speaking of project management, if you were the director of the WHO,
Nice segue.
thank you, number one thing you would do, number one measure you would take.
I think, especially at the minute, vaccines. I would remove these patents on vaccines. I think they are actually killing people. It's causing so much harm. Omicron has come about because the Western countries are hoarding the vaccines and they're not allowing developing countries to use them properly. So yeah, I'd remove patents on vaccines.
Very nice take. I like that. I like the humanitarian approach to patents because for some people it's about profits, for some people it's about survival.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, it's not exactly equal considerations.
Exactly. How much do you value a life? Like, seriously, how do you put a value on a human life?
Exactly. So, Saeed, analogous question. Say you were the Prime Minister of Greece, a dream of yours, I'm sure. What is the number one measure you would take to help with the integration of refugees and immigrants?
Okay, so as a refugee, the thing that I have experienced in Greece, like in total as a refugee living in abroad, I think the most important thing for the refugee is just integration. And the biggest step for the integration is just knowing the language. It makes you like feel more comfortable and feel confident, and then you talk to the people, you speak to the people, so you get to know them and you kind of adopt to the system and the culture, right? So I think providing more Greek and English classes would be a good idea. And yeah, that's it, I guess.
Okay, we've said already communication is everything, both with the police and the hospitals and everything. So you think we don't have enough of these classes right now?
There are some classes that are running by the Greek government, so I don't know. And also there are some classes, there are NGOs that provide some classes, English classes, Greek classes for the refugees. But as I see it, most of them are full. So we need more. And I think like some of the people, as I see, like they're teenager, they need to go to school here, they register for the school, the social worker does, and then they go to school and they don't know the language. They're just like being in the class and staring somewhere. So I think like before going to school, if you can like provide them some like welcome classes to know the basic stuff in the language, it would be really helpful for them, and they know like they start communicating with the students. And yeah,
that makes total sense. It's like trying to build a house on sand without knowing the language, obviously. Now, you are with MVI right now. You've told me you have no medical background.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Still working with medicine, with NGOs?
That's a tough question. So I hadn't had any medical background, but since I've started working with MVI, it's been like 1.5 years now. And I think as I've talked to the volunteers, many doctors, and I see like the way of the helping to the people, even though like most of the volunteers in MVI, they are not psychologists, and we don't provide psychiatrists or psychologists. But of course we have some like mental issues cases in the clinics. We don't just refer them right away. We talk to them, we listen to them if they want to talk about issues, whatever. So we listen to them. So the thing that I really like in medicine is just like we help them, right? You guys help them. So that made me like thinking about medicine. So in 5 years,
you hope to be in medicine?
I don't hope, but could be an option.
It could be.
Yeah.
That's very beautiful, and that's very important. Either whomever you're working with, either patients or refugees or immigrants or whoever, and that's very beautiful. And I love that you center on helping people.
Yeah, that's
okay, because that's what I want to hear from people going into medicine. Not the money, not the easy lifestyle, not anything like that.
I feel like I don't know who's going into medicine for an easy life, but they've been lied to.
Okay, if you're a dermatologist, you can make it happen, I think.
You have to get to that point, though.
Get to that point. Okay, that's a very good point, Ron, because I wanted to ask you a very specific thing, because here in Greece we have many med students who are looking to the UK as an alternative for the residency, either because of the standard of training or because here in Greece we have a long wait time for many residencies, and in the UK you don't. So, as a UK native and doctor, what's your point of view on that? Is it a good decision? Is it a suicidal decision?
Both, really. I mean, look, so
Right.
for some context, I've been working as a doctor in the NHS for 4 years now. I love it. The work is interesting, it's varied, the people are great. We work with, you rotate around lots of different specialties for the first 2 years, so you get a good general experience. And I think the training is really high quality, right? It's thorough, and the seniors are keen to teach you. That said, I'm here. I've left, right? Because I needed a break. It was too much, because it's intense. But I think that's the same everywhere. Medical training is always poorly paid, you're overworked, and it's tough mentally and physically.
Yeah.
So sometimes you need a bit of a break. But I think that's the same everywhere, right? So from a training perspective, absolutely I can recommend it. I've worked with Greek doctors who, they love the training. It's great. They miss the sun.
Okay, wait, do they miss the sun because the country doesn't have any, or because they're in the hospital all the time?
I mean, they are in the hospital all the time, but the country doesn't have any.
That's a double problem right there. Okay, that's very encouraging for anyone thinking of going to the UK, I think, as long as they can take a 4 or 5 year break for their mental health.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, in a sunny country like Greece.
Yeah.
Alright, so now Ron, time for the big marketing question. After all of this we've talked about MVI, about your work here, how does one join MVI? How does one volunteer with you guys?
Yeah, so MVI, Google MVI, Medical Volunteers International. Find our website, it explains everything that we do in the different projects. So the 3 projects here in Greece, Lesbos, Athens and Thessaloniki. And then we're in Bosnia as well. We're investigating about Poland and Belarus potentially.
Very interesting.
But you basically fill out a form on the website. It asks some simple questions like who you are, what your qualifications are. Ask for some evidence as well later on. You can talk to someone, find out a bit more about it. It's a really fantastic organisation, I think. I did 3 months as a volunteer. I'm back as a coordinator because I love it so much. We get a lot of people coming back. And I mean, Christos, you worked with us before. You seem
and
to...
he wants to work us for... Yeah.
So, I mean, how did you find it?
It's true, I was with MVI during 2021, during the first half. It was an amazing experience. As Saeed said, I would definitely come back if my schedule permits it. It's really easy to sign up with these guys. It's truly just, you go to the Medical Volunteers International website, you fill in the form, you send in some, when Ron says that you need to send some evidence, it's like of vaccination, nothing beyond that really serious. And it's really amazing work, given that you don't have to sacrifice really anything. You just do your basic, what you've been trained to do on a very basic level, and it changes people's lives in a huge way.
Absolutely.
Exactly, because it's primary care.
Yeah.
It's what's lacking from many healthcare systems, from ours as well, especially with the communication gap that interpreters like Saeed fill in.
Yeah. And do you think that working with MVI has affected how you work now in Greece and changed your view of things?
Definitely. After working with MVI, I began my final year at university, so we're in the hospital like all the time, and it affects very much how you look at people from immigrants or refugees. I don't mean about their value. I mean practical issues, like you have patients from Pakistan, from Afghanistan. You don't suppose that they speak just the same language, everyone. They speak different languages. You have to find a different interpreter. People from Africa, this goes for as well. And also you understand, I came to understand the legal intricacies of AMCA and PIPA, for example, as Saeed mentioned before. Working with MVI, I had never heard of the difference being a Greek citizen for 23 years, right? So for context, for our audience who perhaps don't know either, PIPA is a temporary AMCA, essentially. It allows the patient to have exactly the same to access to exactly the same services. It's like a temporary AMCA paid for by the European Union while someone is waiting for their asylum petition to either be rejected or approved. So if anyone encounters out there in the hospital, the ER, someone with a PIPA, it's exactly the same as an AMCA. Practically speaking, at that moment, they can get everything, all the exams that Saeed said, all the medical care that they need and deserve. Now, Saeed, so you've been in Greece for 2.5 years, you've left Afghanistan like 3 years now?
Yeah, it's been 3 years, yeah.
Okay. And do you think that living as a refugee, living far from your home all this time, has taught you anything? Have you gained anything from that experience? Because obviously you've lost.
Because like is coming from Afghanistan all the way through Iran and Turkey and being in the Greece, yeah, there are too many hardships on the way, but it also teaches you something. Like it gives you like, you can risk more and you can easily risk actually. So it just make you braver also, I think.
It gives you a context of what's really at stake, I suppose.
Exactly.
Because in our lives, I suppose in Ron's life as well, we've never really met any hardship like you have. So you have a different level of understanding of what's at stake.
Yeah, probably.
No, I don't mean you found enlightenment.
He is not enlightened.
But I mean, you know, exactly, every experience adds something, and you've had a lot of experience in such a short time.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, final question for you guys. Each of you, I want you to tell me. Suppose you are right now transformed into Santa Claus, Agios Vasilis, for our Greek audience. And you give presents to the kids and everything. You have to give one present to every single person on earth, same present, everyone. What do you give? From any perspective, personal, philosophical, medical, Ron, go.
Probably some Tesla shares or something. Something that just get them rich.
Okay.
Or some Bitcoin.
Excellent. Okay. So a monetary incentive to better oneself and
absolutely.
So as I have seen like poor people, also most of the people in Afghanistan are poor, I would give them money.
Mm-hmm.
And they could start a business or doing something with that money.
Okay. I'm very glad we're in agreement that the problem that most people face is a lack of resources. It's not that they're lazy, it's not that they're just lazy motherfuckers, it's that their lack circumstances do not permit them. Exactly.
Yeah.
Lack of resources.
People want to work, people want to do things. People don't, unless apart from Saeed, people don't want to just sit around doing nothing.
Saeed learned to play the guitar by himself, okay? I will not allow you to be that offensive.
Don't fire me.
So, do you guys have anything else to add? Do you have any closing remarks for us?
Ron?
No, like I think it's really great that you're publicizing the like humanitarian sector and also talking a bit more about the refugee situation at the minute in Greece, because I mean even that is changing. It's changing constantly, and it's been like a big thing it's been coming on 5, 6, 10 years, even maybe. So I think it's really important that people know a bit more about it, and especially med students and stuff coming through the Greek system is going to be really useful for them to have a better understanding of some of the challenges that some of their patients face.
Exactly. It is in every time in the emergency room you have people from different countries coming in. You can't turn a blind eye to that.
Exactly, yeah.
Saeed?
So I think the podcast was a really, really nice idea from you.
Oh. And
I'm really happy that I'm here and I'm sharing the stuff that I have experienced.
I'm honored to have you guys here.
And it was amazing.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for coming in, and thank you for listening to us this holiday season.